What's good, guys? It's time for a DL short. So we've been talking about the aircraft accident, the crash that occurred at Scottsdale Airport earlier today. And now we have the air traffic control transmissions from the tower that were talking to all the airplanes flying around Scottsdale at that particular time yesterday, including the Learjet that would actually crash into the Gulfstream 2000. Uh, Shout out to Avocado Aviation. They put this out. So we're going to do a quick breakdown, guys. Forgive me for not having my normal setup. I'm having technical difficulties, but I did want to get this out to you guys. Um, I am a retired air traffic controller with over 20 years of experience in the FAA. So I just want to give you guys my take on what's going on and gather this information so you guys can have a little bit of my experience to kind of walk you through this. So the Learjet in question was November 81 Victor November, Lear 35A, 35 Alpha, and his gear collapsed on landing. So we're going to get to listen. The questions I had before I know anything about anything is, hey, did the crew know that they had some sort of landing gear issue? Did they tell their traffic controllers? Was that a thing, or was this a complete surprise when the crew touched down to land on the runway? I was curious as to what were, if there were any unusual situations going on. So we have the air traffic audio, and we could go ahead and listen to what's going on. So here we go. Let's check this out. Again, I apologize for the audio quality, guys, but hey, we're just gonna work through it. Always got to push forward, right? So.
281 Victor November Scottsdale Tower, make a straight in, runway 21, continue. Team clear for takeoff. Asia 54, turn base, runway 21, clear to land. Asia 69, make a small right 360.
Okay, so right away we can see it's fairly busy. Scottsdale, from what I understand, is a one runway operation. Single runway operations are really, really difficult because you only got one runway. And you have to get all the airplanes on that runway. And there are different types of separation requirements needed on the runway. For instance, if you have small, lightweight aircraft, you can actually have two airplanes land on the runway at the same time. If you had two small, lightweight aircraft, and there are rules for that. If they're the same type, small airplane, you need 3,000 feet between them. If they are a little bit bigger, let's say they're twin engine, you need 4,500 feet between them. And then there's a variant between the two. If you have a single airplane that's landing behind a two engine airplane, like a twin engine airplane, you're going to need more room. So if you have the twin behind the single engine, you're going to need 4,500 feet. But if it's the other way around, if you have the single engine behind the twin, then you only need 3,000 feet. So if you have enough runway, you can land them on the runway 3,000 feet apart or 4,500 feet apart. And there's some slight, there's a couple of slight details to that rule, but we're not going to get into the woods on that. Just so you know, it can be done. Jet aircraft, they need the whole runway. Don't matter what type of jet it is. If it's a jet aircraft, you can't land multiple jets at the same time. As a general rule, they need the whole runway. Are there exceptions to that rule? Yes, there are exceptions to that rule. Formation flights in the military, for instance, is definitely an exception to that rule. Formation flights in general, but generally speaking, jets, you need the whole runway. Okay, so it sounds like this controller is fairly busy. Sounds pretty good. She sounds sharp. She knows what she's doing. She has a good pace going. She's not mixing up call signs. She knows exactly what she wants these airplanes to do. You're hearing her give instructions to make a 360, right? So you only have a few tools that you can really use when it comes to working a single runway with a bunch of airplanes, especially different types of airplanes like small airplanes, medium-sized airplanes, and jets. And one of the go-to tools is a 360. What's a 360? You just fly a circle. Another tool you can use when they're on final, you can have them do S-turns, right? And S-turn is gonna, definitely want to use S-turns when you're dealing with larger, faster airplanes, jets in particular. So when instead of flying straight in and coming down like that, what they'll do is just kind of fly these nice big S-turns. That will buy you a lot of time to do what you got to do in front of them. You can also use your traffic pattern. You can have airplanes enter the traffic pattern at certain points that will buy you time. There's a bunch of things you can do, but working single runway operations are tough. And a lot of times, especially when you're running the smaller airplanes, you run them right up to the end of the runway. You must have appropriate runway separation as an air traffic controller at the point of the approach end. Like once they get over the numbers, so to speak, once they break that a threshold at the approach end, you must have your runway separation at that point. So at that point, you tell somebody to go around, which means they can't land, or whatever you got to do to get that runway separation. So let's continue.
Midfield at your 47.
Clear track 180, expect left traffic, all calls a crosswind.
You got the crosswind, expecting left, clear track 180.
No 1 Victor November, your number 2, falling steps are now mile final, runway 21, cleared wind. Aviator 691 stack on the downwind, follow Lear, 5 mile final, expect to keep it in close. Aviator 47, let me know when you're done with your 360.
Done with that. Aviator 47.
Aviator 47, Roger, extend downwind, your number 3 to the runway, following company on left downwind.
Number 3, extending our downwind, for that traffic, Aviator 47.
So it sounds to me that she's fairly busy. Looks like she has guys in the pattern doing pattern work. What is that? That's when people who are learning how to fly the airplane, they want to keep you close to the airplane when you don't have a lot of hours, right? So they want you just to get used to taxiing an airplane around and then taking off. And basically you just kind of fly a little pattern and then you land again. So you take off and you fly a quick little loop, right? We talked about the different parts of the traffic pattern, guys. We talked about the departure leg, crosswind, downwind, base, final. So basically you're just gonna take off, just kind of come around, nice little box pattern, and you land again. Either they will land and get off the runway, or they would do what's called a touch and go. The wheels would touch the runway, and then they would power up again, change configuration of the airplane, and then take off again. This is how pilots learn how to become pilots. This is, they get tested on these things. This is how they get their experience. And then they go off and do cross-country flights, and they do a whole bunch of other stuff after that. But when you first start, pattern work is a must. One runway. So she's working airplanes in the pattern. These call signs I'm not familiar with. It seems like they have probably a lot of training schools there, and they probably have their own call signs for the training flights. And, they're giving 360s, they're calling traffic. They'll tell them, hey, keep it in tight. It's all these kind of things. This is what air traffic controllers do. They must make the situation work for everyone. And this is where our air traffic controllers are proud of what they do. This takes work. This takes skill. This takes time to learn how to do this. And when you have a good day, and it sounds like she's busy, when you work days like this, you work 3-4 sessions like that, it gets really crazy. And, in the midst of all that, when it's all over, you have a pilot key up and say, hey, good job, Tower. Oh, man, that just makes your day, bro. And the opposite is true. When you're out there, you don't have it. You're not there. And at the end of the day, the pilot keys up and says, hey, man, you suck. Right? That hurts your day. For me, that was fuel for fire. Like, hey, let me get better. But sounds like this controller is doing a really good job. She has the plan. She is painting the picture for the aircraft that are out there. She lets them know who they're following and what they're going to be doing. These are the things that you must do as an air traffic controller. She sounds like she's really sharp.
Sign traffic type to your left. Lear, do you have them in sight? Traffic in sight, Aviator 69, follow the traffic, keep it close, runway 21, clear to land.
Learjet lands, comes off the runway and
Aviator
impacts.
69, go around. Aviator 47, start a climb, go around. 201 Alpha Juliet, start a climb, go around. I'll call your crosswind turn.
So right now you hear the difference in her tone, right? Her tone just changed completely. Why? She just witnessed a crash. She doesn't know how bad the crash is, but she saw it happen. And the first thing she did was send the guy around. Remember, she told that airplane to keep it in tight behind the Learjet. And right away, she's calling out there, go around. She has to send everyone around. No one can land. No one's going to be able to land. The airport has not officially closed the runway at this point yet, but she knows that no one's going to be able to land. All the fire equipment is going to be rushing out there to help the people inside that airplane that just crashed with the other jet. So now the controller has to figure out how she's going to handle all these airplanes in the sky, and they can't land. I haven't heard this all the way through yet, so I'm curious to see what her plan is. My plan would be just to run an extended pattern with all of my little guys, the single engines and the twin engine airplanes that are out there, slow everybody down. I would probably mix my airplanes, like divide my airplanes. I would take all of the little airplanes and I would have them run a box pattern in left traffic, and I would have all the faster airplanes run a box pattern in right traffic, and all of the jets, I will send all the jets back to approach control, give them to the radar guys. Like, hey, man, runway's closed. So I will give all the jets back to the runway guys. Get the jets up in the air, get them above your traffic pattern, and have your guys in the traffic pattern. They just kind of go around, overfly the runway. You still kind of keep them in line when they overfly the runway. But you can even have one overfly a taxiway, and you can have people overfly the runway. So long as everyone sees each other, it's not a problem. But we'll see what she's going to do. But remember, she's already sent 2 airplanes around.
Aviator 69, just fly straight out.
Flying straight out, Aviator 69.
Clear track 180, fly eastbound, please. Exit the airspace.
Fly eastbound, exit airspace, clear track 180.
November 1, Victor, November, Scottsdale Tower, you up, still on me. November 1, Victor, November, Scottsdale Tower, you on me.
Everybody taxiing out, waiting for your clearance. Stand by, give us a couple seconds. Something happened on the runway.
So you realize, you see how the controller, she keys up right away to see if she's still talking to the Learjet that just crashed. People want to know what's going on. She needs to get information, as much information as she can, and there's no information to get right now. The pilot's not responding. And now they switch over to the ground controller. The ground controller is working everything on the ground. The ground controller witnessed this as well. So the ground controller is basically going to tell everyone to stop. Like, you know what, just don't bring anyone out. Let everyone sit in their parking spaces, because the ground controller is going to be busy dealing with rescue, crash rescue, and first responders. And the ground controller knows that. So he's not going to have anyone taxi out. If he has anyone that's already taxied out to the runway, they're going to sit there for a while. Ground is not, as far as taxiing airplanes at this point, taxiing airplanes is not a priority. A priority is getting the emergency equipment to the scene of the accident.
Aviator 47 in your company ahead in sight.
We have them in sight. We're following.
Aviator 47, your frequency change is approved. If you want to call Falcon, that's fine. Expect about, it's going to be a while.
Roger, Aviator 47, we'll call Falcon. We'll get it figured out. Thanks for the help.
Aviator 43, I advise you either go to a different airport or something. It's going to be a while before we're reopened.
How many souls do I have on November 8-1 Victor November?
For the plane that you're looking at, we have no idea. We didn't get that information before you went off com.
Okay, copy. So we have 100 souls on board. Is that correct?
Hey, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. The airport needs to go.
Correct.
Level 609 is self-starter out.
1690 go ahead.
Okay, confirming our airport is confirmed our hard shutdown.
Confirmed, hard shutdown, so go ahead.
Copy. Can you originate where the aircraft came from and give me a number of souls on board?
So what you're listening to now is the ground controller. The ground controller was talking to airport operations. Everyone wants to know how many people are on the aircraft. That's what they want to know. Airport operations, they see what's going on. Hey, how many people on board? Ground controller has no idea. There was no prepping for this. Air traffic had no idea this was going to happen. We don't generally ask how many people are on board or how much fuel is on board. But the base, the company that the airplane generally flies out of, they would have that. The flight service stations would have this information, but it would take some time to get that information if the pilot even put that in their flight plan. A lot of these VFR, a lot of these Learjets, they can fly around VFR. They don't have to file these formal flight plans, right? So it's the difference between you getting in your car with your family and going down to Miami versus you getting on a bus, a Greyhound bus, and going down to Miami. The Greyhound bus is going to know how many people on a bus and who they are and all that. Whereas if it's just you and your family going into your car, are you going to file that information with anybody? No, you're not. So this is what's going on now. ground control was talking to the airport operators, and then the first responders called ground, and ground control was talking to the first responders. And again, the air traffic controllers didn't have any information to give them. Like, we don't know how many people are on board, you know what I mean? But the airport is shut down, and we want to get you guys over there to help.
Unknown souls on board originally came landing. I have no idea where the destination, or rather where the arrival departure airport was, but they'd be off ground Bravo. They told and pretty much went straight to where they're at.
All right. So shout out to Avocado Aviation. If you guys haven't, please go over there and subscribe to their channel for all, you know, if you ever want to know what it's like to listen to air traffic control, what's going on when things go bad. They do a really good job over there getting the transmissions out there, getting this information out so you guys can at least hear what goes on the other side. And then, of course, I like to work with them to using my videos to do these breakdowns. So there you have it. The air traffic controller sounded solid to me. The local controller, she was on point. She knew what she was doing. Once the accident happened, of course, her blood pressure is going to go up. Of course, her tone is going to change. Like as an air traffic controller, it's easy to be a controller when everything is going great. But when things go sideways, that's when the training kicked in. She got excited, but she took care of business. She was able to send the airplanes around. She was able to, she still knew where all her airplanes are in the pattern, reference what's going on. She had a plan. She knew what to tell these airplanes. No one had to tell her what to say. That is a solid air traffic controller. That's a solid local controller. Shout out to her. If I had my normal operation, I would hit that Don DeMarco button because she definitely deserves it. So that's all we have for now, guys. If we get any more information, I'll definitely make a video and put it up there for you. Tell you what, man, please keep these controllers in your thoughts and your prayers as well, man. They have to deal with this. You know, they saw this happen, and they know that at some point they were told that someone didn't survive. And you have to figure out how to move forward when you deal with this sort of thing in aviation and air traffic control. It is what it is. I'm DL Saint. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. This is a DL Short. Appreciate y'all checking this out, man, supporting us, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.